Welcome, and thank you for tuning in to Lady K Chat, a podcast that is designed for men and women to become better versions of themselves, which is broadcast every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Various subjects will be spoken upon, such as relationships, health and wellness, personal development, wealth building, children, and so much more. She is a two-time Amazon best-selling author, an international speaker, and life coach. She is Lady K. And now for your host, Lady K.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Lady K Chat podcast. You are here with your favorite host, Lady K, and it is a pleasure that you are here with me 6 p.m. this evening. We have a treat for you tonight, but before I get into tonight's show, I just have to let you know that this show is sponsored by Lady K Enterprises, which they are a financial service firm where we help you get started in business. So all the way to help you growing your staff. Any additional information that you need, you can visit our website above at www.ladykenterprisesinc.com. So about tonight, everyone, tonight's topic is called My Toxic Trait. And as you can see, I am not alone. I'm going to unpack this tonight with this special lady right here. She ain't got no filter. She don't mind talking about this with me, and she just give it to you. And I love that about her. I really do, because a lot of people, they're such afraid to tackle certain things, but I need women like her in my circle to talk to other women, to let them know, listen, my sister, you got to stop carrying that weight. You got to stop doing things that you think that you can't speak to nobody. You can't tell nobody, because like I said, tonight's topic is called My Toxic Trait. But everyone, I would like for you to help me to give a warm welcome to Miss Maya Allen, who is the CEO of Moving Through Grief. Correct, Maya?
Yes, I am. And you know what? I'm going to need some of your services to help a sister out move this business along. I'll be calling you. Don't worry about that.
Yes, Maya, but thank you. And that's a tough name right there, Moving Through Grief. That is plain and simple, because a lot of us are experience that, and we don't realize we carry that. And you know what? That is one of my main goals that I want to focus on in 2022. This is why I'm talking about it right now, because this is just the starter. This is just just a little dust to let us know that we got so much more to unpack and to uncover. So not too long ago, Maya posted something very inquisitive to me on social media, and I'm gonna read it to you guys. And I said, wow, this hit home not only for me, but for a lot of people. It says, my toxic trait: I suffer in silence and hope someone notice I'm not myself. Growing up, I had to constantly be there for others, but no one was ever there for me. So I learned to be the helper, but never learned how to reach out or to be helped. That right there is a mouthful. And you know what? Just by reading this, when she said, I hope that someone noticed that I'm not myself, I think a lot of us have that output, that cry, and we want people to do that, but people are not genies. But it is also great to have those people that's in your core to know something's not right. You know, what's your perspective on that, Maya?
I totally agree with what you just said. Now, this is the thing. We're not genies. A lot of us are not, psychologists and psychiatrists and therapists and counselors. And even those people need a break from what they do every single day, right? But just like doctors make the worst patient, it's the same thing. I mean, we're all just human. However, we are living in a society now where everyone is about self, because everybody is hurting. No one is excluded. And we talked about this, last time we spoke on the phone. However, the best way, from my perspective, to heal, right, is to serve others. I'm not saying ignore your current situation or how you're feeling, but the reality is a lot of us in the African American households growing up, we've been lied to. We talked about, you and I, Kaleem, about Big Mama, and we have watched her roll. We have watched her suck it up, Buttercup. We have watched her suffer in silence. And now that Big Mama is not here, we have taken on that role. It has not been assigned to us. In some cases, it hasn't. We have picked up, not like a disease, we have picked up where she or he left off. And what we've done is we've suppressed a lot of emotions, trauma. I know a lot of adults who are still dealing, they're in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, still dealing with childhood trauma.
Yes.
It comes, and we can't dictate when it's a good time for it to come, but it's unfortunate that we live this thing called life to get in that golden age, to have to now revisit things, traumas that has happened. It's time for us to put our big girl panties on, be accountable for behaviors that do not serve us, or family members or friends around us. And we need to start breaking some strongholds. It's not healthy. It's no different than, I'm all about the whole nutrition thing, the whole working out. This is my thing. We have abused Thanksgiving and Christmas. And we have made Thanksgiving and Christmas every single day. It is time to start breaking some bad habits, listening to people, doing research, because everybody is different, and coming up with some new healthy habits to pass on. Because guess what? Your son is watching. Although my kids are older, they're still watching mom. And I don't want them to pick up all my bad habits. I want them to be able to assess a situation and change some things for their kids and their kids' kids. It's about leaving a legacy that's not so much about monetary value, which that's important, but I want to leave them with a mental stability, foundation and legacy. We forget about that. Mine is a terrible thing to waste. And you know what I'm saying?
Maya, you said something that just triggered an event that happened to me, and it dawned on me. And I said, wow, Kaleema, you're probably saying, well, what is it, Lady K? So you said something about, our kids and what we leave to them. And I remember one day I was just having a tough day, and I broke down and I cried in front of my oldest son. And he looked at me kind of strange. And I know why he looked at me kind of strange, because I always thought I should not cry in front of my son because I had to, quote unquote, be strong. But then I realized, what am I teaching my son? I'm teaching my son that he cannot be emotionally available. He has to hold his emotions in. He cannot display it. And he's going to go on in life thinking that's what he has to do. And I had to sit down with him and I said, you know what? Sometimes mommy have hard times too. Sometimes mommy is sad too. Sometimes mommy needs to cry too. And I kid you not, when I actually sat down with him and I did that, I think he looked at me completely different, like, wow, my mom is a human being. Because, sometimes we look at as our parents and we put these expectations on them that they're supposed to be perfect because that's how society has it. As a parent, you're supposed to, but not realizing that you and your children are kind of growing together. However, I do want to say this. Yes, you can grow together. You can, identify some things, but they shouldn't have to go through too much, or all that emotional abuse is coming out, all that garbage is coming out, and now it's dumped on them, and we forget. And it's kind of interesting. Recently, I don't know why, there's always something floating on the internet. It was saying how, boys are not supposed to play with the kitchen set, because back in the 80s and 90s we played with that. I played with that as a little girl, and they associate certain things that if a man does that will make them gay. But then we say we love male cooks. You see what I'm going? So it's like you want him to be vulnerable, but then you tell him suck it up. So we throw all these different abuse and these labels on our kids. We want them to be certain things, but we don't realize that this is an understatement, that there's power in the tongue. And we don't realize we really have to watch what we say to our kids.
And you know what the caveat? It not only sticks, but if we don't allow that type of freedom within our kids, that develops something very horrible in a child. The child will not always be a child. They'll grow up to be a man who will most likely deal with people, have a girlfriend, have friends, so on and so forth. But they've been stifled and not taught how to be emotionally intelligent as a child, to where they don't know how to even communicate when they get older. I don't know about you, but I love watching Married at First Sight. It is a reality show for singles who are wanting to be married to a stranger same day. And it takes them through the process. And this season, there's a man on there who is 27 who struggles with the art of communication, something that we take for granted. And it all stems from when these boys are young, being told with their parents' perception of what a man is. A young boy doesn't play with a baby. But, when he has a kid, you want him to be involved with his kid and nurture the child. You do want that, right? It doesn't mean they're going to be gay. I mean, Kalima, it's baffling. But the crazy thing is, I don't have sons. So I don't have
boys.
See, I mean, I would think, but see, this is the thing. And we talked about this over the phone. Balance in all things. Balance in all things. It's a time and a place to be tough.
Right.
It's a time and a place to take control. It's a time and a place to be vulnerable. And that's for everybody. Absolutely. That's not just for your son. Those are for my daughters. That's for me. Knowing thyself, when I have to sit down and maybe delegate some work, maybe I need to contact my therapist or counselor or my good girlfriend and say, you know what? I'm struggling. And it's okay, and not be judged and not, we don't always need an answer. Sometimes we just need to know that somebody is there. You understand? And I think between the end of 2019 till today, being in this pandemic and COVID, it has brought some of the best of people, their intentions. It's brought it out, good things. But on the flip side, it's just like, yo, man, you're not the only one going through. It's a lot of people. Step out of yourself for 2.5 seconds.
Right.
And check on your neighbor. If you get that intuition feeling, Maya, that something might not be right with Kalima, it is nothing wrong with sending homegirl a text. Right. You good? And don't just accept, yeah, I'm good. Be like, are you sure? It's okay to dig a little. Because it's always that second or third, you sure you're doing okay? Before someone says, you know what? I'm struggling. You don't have to have all the answers or a PhD behind your name. You just have to have a heart for people.
Yes, that part.
A heart for people. And that's what you're doing. I see what you post on Facebook. I know you have your lady podcast that is successful. This platform is exceptional because it gives women, it gives human beings, it gives people the platform, the safe place to learn, to communicate, and to be corrected.
Right.
And sometimes we need to be corrected in our behavior because we think it's right. And a part of me loving you, Kalima, is saying, sister, have you thought about this? Can I challenge you for the next week to do that? And that's okay with no pushback.
Right.
I mean, because it is biblical. How we know that we are loved by Christ is we're chastised by him. You chastise your son. You let him know when he's going the wrong way. It's called not only you rearing and teaching, but that's love.
Right.
I expect my husband to call me out and be like, Maya, we're not doing that over here. I expect that. I hate it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like correction, right. But it does come across as love.
Right.
At the gym. If my form is off, I need my trainer to correct my form when I'm not doing something right, or what, I can be hurt.
Absolutely.
You correct your son and you correct it quickly, because you know if he step out in that street without looking both ways, he can be hurt.
Absolutely.
Now, you're not my daughter, you're not any kin to me, but guess what? I still have a responsibility to you.
Absolutely. Like you said, as a human being, like you said, it doesn't take that much to say, hey, wait a second, so, and I think a lot of us, I think we get in the way of, I'm a mind my business. And I get that to a degree, yes, but you got to know when, like you said, my whole thing it's so funny that you say this, Maya, because my whole thing for 2022 is correction, and to let you know that some of the things that you have learned it incorrectly. Now you have to unlearn, to relearn something new. Like I said, I thought it was okay for me not to cry in front of my son. I think for me, like when I was going through certain things, I would keep it to myself. I can remember one day I was in a situation and I didn't say nothing because I was just trying to handle it all by myself. And my mom was like, oh, that's his pride. I'm like, that's not pride. That was I'm not pride. And then I sat back, I said, well, Lady K, was it pride? And I had to check myself. And y'all already know, listen, when I talk to you guys, I talk to myself first, okay? Because I don't have a problem. But sometimes, right, you can say something to someone repetitively, and sometimes, it gets so redundant. You get so tired. But we all have to remember, we all have that aha moment. And sometimes it takes some time for you to get to that place. Like, oh, you know what? Dang. I've been doing this for 20 years and I finally have my aha moment. Now, some people say it takes you 20 years. Let me tell you something right now. Don't do that, because there's something in an area that you're struggling. And you know what I came to mind too, sometimes we might be great in certain areas and we can manifest it just like that. But in other areas, we struggle. We all go through that. So that's why they say, you do have to be kind to one another. And I get it. Sometimes you might surpass that person. You might say, well, I'm going to love you for a distance. That's okay, because somebody else, God always sends somebody else to intercede. So it's okay if you had to move on in that season, because he's going to call someone else to interact, to talk, and to get through that particular individual.
And we have to also remember that we're just called to plant seeds. We're not called to change or fix people. That's not our job. Our job is just to sprinkle a little salt, not too much, right? Come with a pure heart, and that's it. I know for me, when I'm working with clients, sometimes I get very frustrated and I have to sit back and say, why are you frustrated, Maya? Like, you're trying to help them. You say you're loving them with your whole entire heart, but why are you frustrated? And I tell you why. Because Maya, many, many times you think you're God. You were called to do an assignment.
Right.
These people are not your assignment, Maya. You are there to help guide, to coach. That is it. Anything above and beyond that, you think you God, little G, and you're not. The pastor just said invite the people to church. They didn't say drag them. They didn't say force them to come. That's not what he said. He said just pass this card out,
right,
and let God do the rest.
Right. And
we become frustrated because I think we figure out it's beyond our ability. But back to Big Mama and these toxic traits, because I think, okay, a part of the problem she was Big Mama is because she was big and unhealthy and probably hiding in all the traumas and everybody's issues in the family and carrying them. Who assigned that to you? Like, that's not even fair to a person. And this is no disrespect to those who have big mamas in their family. No disrespect. But I think the tide is changing. And now moms and grandmoms are getting a lot younger. Mm-hmm. So I think times are just changing.
And let me say something real quick about time. So I understand why once upon a time, Big Mama was like that. Because if we really want to technically want to go back, it go back to slavery and how, they were divided and how a lot was put on the woman and she had to be strong. And I definitely understand that. That's why she carried that. But like you said, now we're in a new day of time and grandmas is getting younger and younger. That's like my mother, she laughed. She was like, I'm too young. I'm too old for this. And she's really not, because she's a great grandmother and she's in her 60s, right? So, and we was discussing that, and we was discussing how we carry certain things and why we do that. And like I said, what I just brought out is how we define because of what happened in the past. But now, since people are so big on mental health, it's changing the whole dynamic, because they didn't talk about mental health back there. There was no past for Big Mama to do it. She saw so much, she had to carry it and deal with it. And you know what? God rest soul to my grandmother. I kind of felt like my grandmother did that. All she did was nurture and take care of everyone. And and I love her for that. But I say, let me tell you something. I'm a different woman. I am not sitting around carrying everybody's burden. That is not my problem. I'm going to give it to Jesus. He going to do it for you, but I'm going to still love you, because I can't carry that, because I'm only one person. And we should not. That's too much.
Even what I do for a living, I'm 100% advocacy for families and students. That's what I do for a living. That's what I do from the time I wake up. After I come from the gym, I have to put that plug in, drink your water, go to the gym, walk outside, get your heart rate pumping. Anyway, after I take my nap and I start work at 8 o'clock Monday until I clock off at 5 o'clock on Friday, I am serving people. I am big when I'm on vacation. When I am off, though, I have to learn how to turn things off, because I'm that girl. Even when we went to Disney over Thanksgiving, if I hear some chatter in the line waiting for us to get on this ride, and I know I could help that person, I'm like, hey, have you ever thought, my name is Maya. Have you ever, stop.
Right.
Maya, you're not God. Now, when the Spirit leads you to do certain things, that's fine.
Right.
But I think a lot of us, we're out of order.
Whew.
And it weighs on you. I don't want to know. A lot of things, especially like on vacation and on the weekends, people call me, Maya, got this situation, but it's whole Sunday. I'm about to leave for check. Do I get a chance to turn it off? Do I get a chance to get a break so I can be my best on Monday? But we talked about this over the phone, I believe, creating boundaries.
Yes.
You have to create boundaries, because when I was younger, I used to think I was strong. Now, the age I am now, I'm like, oh, you ain't as strong as you think you are. You can't take over the whole world, Maya. Slow down. And now, being the age I am now, I have to do things in just little spurts, because a girl like a nap. You understand? I have to take a nap.
Let me tell you something. Those are the best. When I was younger, I don't know why. And here's another misconception. I thought I always had to work. And if I wasn't working hard enough, then I thought something was wrong with me. So as I got older, right, I start to slow down a little bit. I'm like, wait, you can't do that. I'm like, did I say this to myself? Who the hell told you? Who told you that? That is a lie. So even with me now, I speak to a lot of women about, delegation and the power of delegation, because we think we can do it all. And, it's kind of interesting that you said about Thanksgiving, what you did. So I had some plans on Thanksgiving that I wanted to tackle, right? But the day of Thanksgiving, I was bringing some laundry down the steps and I fell. And I hurt myself. I hurt myself really bad, where I really couldn't get up and I had to really sit there for a minute. And I love how sometimes God will use the babes. So my little son, the 6-year-old, he said, Mommy, I don't think you should do anything. I think you need to go upstairs and sit down. And I said, you know what, Nehemiah, you're absolutely right. So I took my time, I was able to adjust my legs, sat there for a little bit, went upstairs, When I said this baby was so helpful, he got the Ziploc bag, put the ice in there, gave it to his mommy. Mommy, put your leg up, sit down, don't do nothing. And that whole weekend, I actually had to sit down. Y'all understand me? I had to sit down because I'm always constant and I'm moving and I'm gonna go, and this is gonna go. And I even had to stop that. Stop it. And then sometimes, I'm on social media. I was barely on social media. Sometimes you got to take that sabbatical from social media too, and it felt really good to actually sit there and allow myself just to heal, because I know that's what I needed.
but you know what? Even through, and I think the last time we spoke on your podcast, I talked about this. Today is the 7th. In 2 days will be the 2-year anniversary of the death of my mom. And even through grief, going through the shock of it all and all of that stuff, in the back of my mind, I remember thinking, you don't have time to cry. You got to make things happen. Why? Because first of all, you're the only child. Nobody can do it legally. So I remember just moving, and not allowing myself to just be and feel. And what happens is when we ignore things in our head, it's like if you have a box and it's really nicely wrapped with a bow, you can put it away. But soon, whenever soon is, that box always comes back and unravels. And your stuff that you packed into that box becomes exposed. And for me, when my box unloaded, it was at church and it was ugly. It was the realization that, wait a minute, what do you mean she's gone? And she had been gone, I think, for like 7 or 8 days, and it still hadn't caught up. But the expectation, now nobody told me this, but all eyes on me, and with nobody saying in my circle, Maya, why don't you sit?
Right.
Tell me what you need me to do. I know it's only so much, but I can do whatever. What do you need me? No one, for the most part, said that. And it's not their fault. I think I gave off an impression that I have this, I'm here to serve, which there's nothing wrong with that. But now hindsight is 2020. When I look back, it's like God just wanted you to mourn the loss of your mom.
Right.
And instead of addressing that, instead of feeling the pain, I ignored it by moving, by continuously being active, still going to the gym, taking large lump sums of money, going to McDonald's, buying breakfast, and just going places and feeding people. Wow. Because I thought through my pain, serving.
Right.
But I had took it to the extreme.
Right.
I had took it to the extreme. And when my box finally crept back and unraveled, I was broken. I was the physical pain of it all. It's just I don't wish that on anyone, and especially around the holidays, if we're all grieving,
right,
but we're all nurturing certain toxic traits unbeknownst to ourselves. And it's time to get real. It's time to be having this conversation, and we need to be open enough to be told, Kalima, maybe there's a different way that you can approach that situation. Have you thought about this? I'm telling you, because the mind is a terrible thing to waste, and we don't need to wait for New Year's. We can start today.
Right.
But the conversations, that's what's so wonderful about your platform. It's about stirring the pot in a positive way, to talk about these issues that we don't talk about.
Absolutely.
You know,
And
I would love to be the wife. Let's be clear, that cooks and cleans, take care of the kids, take care of the husband, have dinner ready, the whole house is clean, and I would and work and take on the mentals of other people. I would love to be able to do it flawlessly, but the reality is some days I will make it, but a lot of days I'll miss the mark.
Right.
And in a marriage, two people that come together, we need to come together so tight that I can finish your sentence, meaning I'm observing you, that when you are not at your best, I can say, what's going on with you? Maybe you need to have yourself a whole seat. Sit down.
Right.
I got the children today. Don't just come home and grab the remote control and sit back because your girl, your wife got the, she cooking and she cleaning and she's mopping and she's taking care of the baseboards. I mean, without saying, honey, is there anything I can do to help? What do you need? And then when she pushes back and says, nah, I'm good. No, you say, that's when you stand up and you say, sit down.
Thank you. Because you was in my head, because I was going to say, when you know someone and they be like, oh, I'm good, and you're not, just kicking the action, because let me tell you something, that's their way of saying, yeah, I don't need you, but they indirectly they do. And yes, they do have to get better at communication, but because you know them, you step in, because even my mom does that, and sometimes I'll just step in and just do what I have to do. And I'm like, we really have we really, not just men, but we as people, when you're around the ones that you really love, sometimes you just really got to step your game up. It doesn't matter if you don't want to do it or not, but if you see that person that's struggling, because like we just said in the beginning, I wish they see that I'm dying inside. I wish they see that I'm hurting inside, and they do. So step in, and it's okay for them to say, hey, I want you to go sit down. I got this. And it's funny because not too long ago, I did a show on the Kay and Manny show, and I put it on about intimacy, because a lot of people don't understand intimacy. And I said, intimacy is being into me before we get to the bedroom, because you're doing these little things for your wife or your girlfriend or your significant other. So when it's time for nighttime, she's going to give you your time because she appreciates what you have done for her in the daytime. And it's the same thing too. Just because you're not intimate with someone, you can still give your loved one intimacy, and then that makes your connection grow fonder, and it takes it to a whole nother level. And that's what I want to see in 2022. So this is why I'm planting the seed now, because I want y'all to get it. A lot of the stuff that y'all are doing, and I hope this pandemic open your eyes. You can't bring it with you. And Maya, you said something crucial too about, doing everything. I said to myself, my purpose is to drive enough revenue to pay myself, to pay people to do certain stuff, because I don't want to do it. I don't want to cook. I don't want to clean. I don't want to go ahead and clean the pool. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do none of that stuff. Okay. I'm being 100. And a lot of people are like, well, what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with me. You have been conditioned so bad that you feel like you have to do everything and have everything in your control. Why? And let's just be real. If you really think about it, the wealthy, they do the same thing. They hire the people to do stuff like that because they don't have time. They focus on that one thing that they're supposed to do. But we focus on so many stuff and we get so many distracted. It's not cool. But we're running out of time. Not me. Maya, what are your last words that you want to say to the people?
Well, let me just say, I'm so thankful for what you just said, because I've been doing some research on, like, every couple of months bringing a cleaning service into my home to clean. And I don't like nobody in my space like that. But guess what? That's going to free me up some time to be able to relax, to do something else, to care for myself, care for my family, do some business ventures that I have in the back of my head that I need to see come to fruition. It's time that we step up. No one has this thing called life right.
Right.
We're never going to get it perfect. And that is okay. That's the reason for this platform. That's the reason why, we're having these uncomfortable conversations. It's time to shake some things up. We're comfortable with tradition.
Right.
And we have to sit back and ask ourselves, starting today, not just in 2022, is it helping us or is it harming?
Ooh, that part.
We have to choose your hard. Life is hard, but choose your hard. I don't need things to be harder. Life is already hard.
Right.
So I have to just be cognizant. And I am challenging your listeners to really self-evaluate some things. I believe that some chains are going to be broken. I'm not talking about 2022. I'm talking about as soon as tomorrow. Some things are going to be broken. People are going to be loosed from some things and some traditions that meant them no good.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Are you feeling better from your fall? I needed to ask.
What's interesting? Yes. And I'm before we go, I gotta say this one thing because I said this to Maya earlier. She said, well, how are you feeling today? I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. I had to take rest a little bit because I realized today I didn't feed myself as much as I should have, because today I felt a little off because I was so busy and I was so consumed with my work. And I said, oh wow, you forgot, you were so busy, you forgot to eat. But even though I was consuming my work and I forgot to eat, because I know I was going to get ready tonight to speak to you, I allotted myself some time to take rest, to eat, to nourish myself. So even sometimes we had those moments, but I still took the time. So I want you guys to get in the time to do the same things with yourself. But everyone, I am so grateful that you are here listening to me. This is the last show of the year, and I'm so excited because I have so much in store for you guys in 2022. But before I go ahead and wrap this up, Maya, tell the people how they can follow you and where can they reach out to you at.
Okay. And thank you so much for having me on again. It's always awesome to have conversation with you. But if you need to get in contact with me, I am on Facebook under my government name, Maya, Mayya. Last name is Allen, Allen. That's where I do post a lot. I need to get a little bit more consistent. But I am also on Instagram as well under Maya Allen _fit and Kalima. I have been doing something new that I meant to share with you, but I was kind of afraid.
Okay.
I started a YouTube channel.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just saying. Okay, that's a whole.
Stepping out the box.
I'm trying. So I have my channel name right here. I just want to shout it out. It's called, because a girl can't remember nothing. Motivation and Muscles with Maya. So you get a little bit of motivation, a lot of going through my journey, going back to stage. Since I do bodybuild, I'll be going back on stage, hopefully in April of next year. So I take everybody through that journey. We talk about issues like this. I try to motivate people and leave people with a smile and to give them hope and to edify. No different than what you're doing on this podcast. Kalima, I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. I cannot wait to see what you have in store next year. I will be tuning in, and I hope your followers will be tuning in, and don't miss anything.
Thank you, Maya. I really appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you, Maya. So yes, continue to follow us here at the Lady K Chat Podcast here on YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, and Apple. And you can also visit our website at www.ladykenterprisesinc.com. And everyone have a great night, and we will see you after the New Year's. Have a good night, everyone.
Lady K.